Hello everyone, it's Lisa and I'm here today to go over your weekly activities and hopefully answer some questions for you today. So let's go ahead and jump in, and we'll be reviewing week 9, which is what this week is. Week 9 of 14 weeks, so we're moving in on the home stretch here. So let's scroll down here. Okay, so a big week, week 9. This week you'll be submitting your final scrapbooks to me, and we'll be finishing up on that project. It's a short-term project, and also this week I am going to pass out, or actually I posted already, the Project 3 handout. So the Project 3 is your final term project, so it'll be, I guess, considered your final project in here. Also this week, I am posting some professional videos on photo retouching, and I've already posted those actually. They've been up since yesterday because I read through the discussion that we had last Sunday and compiled a list of requests from students in terms of what they were struggling with, and I tried to locate specific videos based on those requests. So I went ahead and posted those, and then we will have our last technology lesson in your books this week. That would be covering typography design and vector drawing techniques. So let's go ahead and jump in. All right, so at the top here I have the next project, which I'm going to review with you today, and we'll look at a couple student samples of that. And last week I reviewed with you the final book creation of your scrapbooks. So those scrapbooks will be due this Sunday. And I have a write-up here of the criteria that you'll want to need to be aware of and make sure you've covered inside your book. So there are 6 bulleted areas here that you want to make sure and check off in your book. Make sure it's the right size, the right resolution, and that you have the layout set up properly. Okay. In last week's materials, you'll find a handout, or I'm sorry, this week's materials, you'll find this handout here, how to make a scrapbook using Photoshop, and click here to look at a sample. I reviewed this stuff with you last week, so I won't be reviewing it with you this week. So you'll have to take a look at week 8 lecture in order to get an overview of how to make that book. And I believe this handout is available for you in week 8 as well as this week, week 9. Okay, and that entire project is worth 100 points. So I'll look forward to seeing the results on that. Okay, so let's talk about the new project. Oh, by the way, here's also your retouching videos. You'll just go ahead and click on each one of these, and you can watch a short video on how to perform these types of retouching techniques. Okay, so these are great videos that are part of what the district provides for us here at Northlake, and I felt I should share them with you because I think they could be really helpful in helping you to produce great photo retouching results. Okay, so over here I have the Project 3 opened up, and I'm just going to review with you real quick what that entails. Okay, so we're moving on to the final project, and that project will be designing a series of boards. Okay, and you have 3 choices in terms of what type of board you design. You can either design a surfboard, a skateboard, or a snowboard design. Okay, so it gives you some variety in terms of, what interests you and what area you'd like to know more about. Because sometimes when these projects are kind of open-ended, I leave them that way for a reason so that you can explore things that you're interested in. Give it kind of a twist of your own interest combined with a particular problem that you need to solve. Okay, so you're going to choose one of these, and then you're going to come up with some kind of, I guess, topic that will be applied to these board designs. So using Photoshop, you're going to design a set of boards based on a theme. So the topic or the theme that you choose will be what will be prominent in these board designs. So you'll use a combination of image and vector-based graphics, typography, artwork, or textures to visualize your design. You will complete at least 3 designs for this series. One design is based on images, so one of the designs will be image dominant. One design will use vector graphics, so the actual design itself has to be a vector graphic dominant. And the final design will be typographic, so the board design has to be solved with using all typography. And you can use imagery, but it has to be secondary. The typography has to be the main dominance of the board design. So there is one specific rule there, that you do not use any pre-existing clip art or artwork. All artwork should be created by you and be original artwork. Okay, so for all these board designs, you do have to meet those 3 different types of designs. So one is image dominant, one is vector dominant, and the other is type dominant. So those are your 3 board designs that you will combine as a design series. So in terms of overall design, looking at all 3 of them, they should look like they all go together, but they shouldn't look all exactly the same. Okay? So to begin this project, you're going to do some research, and for next week, I'll write up your assignment. But your first report for this project will involve going out and doing some research about trends in board design. So you'll go to the library, to a local bookstore, you'll search the internet, you could look at magazines, and I'd like you to answer the questions below. So you're going to look at the latest designs and boards of your choice and what makes them unique. Look at companies who manufacture board designs and how are they different and similar. Who is the audience for your particular board design? What are the demographics of that audience? What is your theme? And what visual elements will you use to represent your theme? Examples are, what kind of colors will you use, typography, text or fonts, imagery, what images do you plan to use or draw for this, artwork or texture. Okay, so for your next report, and I'm going to write up an assignment for that, but this is just a little overview here. Those are some of the questions you'll be answering as part of your research. In addition, you'll be producing a series of sketches for this, at least 5, of possible ideas for the board designs. Okay, remember this is a design series, so each of the designs should be unique, but hold some continuity across the series, such as color, form, image, or type design. Okay, only design the front of the boards. You do not have to design the back, but it is optional if you'd like to do it for extra credit. That's fine. And then I mentioned here your color palettes that you can consider, CMYK or Pantone matching system colors. The actual final board Photoshop document should be 8.5 by 11, 150 DPI. And your choice of theme is up to you. Okay, of course you want to keep it classroom appropriate, because I could tell you now, as you begin your research into board designs, you will find a lot of inappropriate, or let's just say classroom inappropriate designs. Okay, so let's just keep it to something that wouldn't offend the rest of the class in any way, if we could. Avoid nudity, drug use, and things like that, I guess is to come out and say it. Okay, so your final will consist of a PDF presentation of all your designs combined, a thought process report with your sketch work and your research, and then your final Photoshop document. This will be what you'll turn in during finals week. Okay, so this is the write-up of your next assignment, so you can begin to think about that. Now, as I mentioned up here, you're responsible for making 3 designs of these boards. One of them being, of course, the image dominant, which we've been working on in this class. You did your first project in creating a composite or a collage using images. So you should at this point feel pretty comfortable. Your second project was color correction and photo retouching images. So you should be comfortable with images. However, for the very first time, you might be using vector art and typography. So I just want to point out in your textbook, your last two final technology assignments are indeed covering those two areas. So I'm over here in the digital text, and I believe chapter 7 covers typography design and typographic options in Photoshop and how to make typography look interesting. So one of your board designs are going to have to include a design rendering some kind of type style, type form, type design of some kind. I'll go ahead and click here. This is actually what you're going to be creating in that lesson is kind of like a magazine cover, and you'll learn about how to set text, how to apply effects, how to mask text, and how to use some of the features of text to make text come alive, how to put text on a path, and so on. So this is a fun lesson. Most students enjoy it. The second chapter you'll be working on is vector graphics. So you'll be learning about how to draw vector graphics in Photoshop and how to utilize them, colorize them, and incorporate them in with image graphics. So if I click this here, you'll be creating this here is what your final will be looking like. And notice back here you've got these flat graphics that were created in this kind of kidney-shaped form back here. All of those were created with vector tools in Photoshop. So one of your board designs will need to include a emphasis on vector graphics. Okay, so these two chapters are pretty important for this final project, so make sure that you get them under your belt and get them finished and turned in. Those are due also this Sunday. So this Sunday, your final project for the scrapbook is due, as well as these two chapters in your text. Okay? Okay, so let's jump back here to the Blackboard area. And okay, we reviewed this, and we just reviewed this. This is your last two final technology assignments. And down here, I've gone ahead and placed in a student gallery of previous board designs that were done by students in the past in this class and in other classes that I've taught. Okay, this first one here is a real good example of utilizing vector graphics. On this one here, I believe this student went ahead and drew all of this stuff using vector graphics, and then she incorporated a filter in here. She's also using some typography. She's using a famous quote, "If you can't make it here, you won't make it anywhere." We've all heard that quote when it comes to New York or New York City. The student happened to be from Jersey, and so she wanted to do a series on the state of New York or Manhattan. Notice here that this one also is very type dominant. All of her buildings are actually made out of text. So kind of fun. You can see across the series here that she has some continuity in the use of that kind of water brush or watercolor effect that she's applied here. She's done some really interesting brush work as well on her vector graphics to kind of give this artwork a little bit of dimension. So overall, a nice job. This is another series here that was done by a student, and this one is a very good example of creating vector graphics in Photoshop. So all of this kind of hard edge, sort of clean art over top of the image here has been created using vector graphics. Okay, I also like to point out in this series here, and you'll see in a couple of the others I have here, that this student also developed a mark design for their board company. So this here, I actually think that this is his trademark or his watermark design, and he ended up using it here in his board design. So a nice touch. This student didn't design a mark, and that's okay, you don't have to, but it's optional, but it's kind of nice to actually come up with a mark that represents your board design company. Here's another series done on black where this student did some really cool vector drawing in Photoshop of these little China dolls here. And she's using some typography back here. And again, sometimes I show you these examples, and as this project progresses through iterations of classes that do it, I change it. So some of the criteria that you're required to have in yours may not be presented here in these examples because, as I said, the project criteria was different when they did these projects. I just wanted to add more to it. So these projects, they did not, these two here, this one and this one, they did not have a text requirement. That's a new addition to the project. Here is another series, relatively simple, but still kind of interesting. A series of board designs based on the seasons. She also went ahead and designed a mark that she went ahead and placed on to all of these board designs. But you can kind of see how you can actually create artwork in Photoshop that kind of looks like it was created in Illustrator. And Illustrator is a vector-based program. So all of the art you create in Illustrator is vector versus the type of art that you create in Photoshop, which is based on pixels, as you should know by now after working with images for the last couple of weeks. Here is a final series that was done by a student, very clean. You see they have their image dominant, their text dominant, and then their vector dominant. And maybe this is not necessarily as vector dominant as I'd like. Maybe she could have done more work here with vector. But what was nice about this is she also decided to add an optional logo design in here, and it really kind of makes the final board series look very professional and very portfolio-like. So I'm looking for something at this caliber or better. I mean, these are some of the better ones. I have so many more to show, but I had to kind of keep it short. So I think this is a good cross-section of possibilities in terms of a student gallery. And this is available here in eCampus, so you can take a look at it. That pretty much wraps up the overview of what's due for this week. And like I said, the last technology assignment is this week. We will be doing a drawing tablet assignment next week. So you won't be required to buy one, but if you want to come to campus, we have them. You can also execute the drawing tablet assignment with a mouse, but it's just not as fun. So just know that that's up and coming. We'll be doing that next week. Okay, well, that should wrap it up, and good luck with finishing up on your final scrapbook, and let me know if you have any questions. You can post all your questions in the Week 9 Problems and Solutions, and I'll be talking to you soon.